Okay, good evening, members of council, good evening, staff and the general public. Welcome to our July 20th, 2020 council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that the council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be opened at 7:01 p.m. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. I would ask everyone to please rise for the playing of our national anthem. Thank you, Ms. LeBrun. We'll move to number 3, approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, is there any additions to the agenda?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilor Jaworski.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping that we could bring forward the departmental updates. I have a few comments, but if we could maybe just bring forward the CAOs, I can make all my comments on that one. So that's
Okay, so we'll move number 1 under information only. We'll move number 1 to other business. So it would be number 2 under other business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else from any other members of council? Not seeing none, so the motion would be as amended. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Number 4, any declaration of pecuniary interest? Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. I'd like to declare a declaration of pecuniary interest on staff report 102, 2020, as I wrote up the agreement of purchase and sale for the sale of that lot for Miss Kelly Harding.
That's number 5 under Lancaster Heights surplus lot.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else this evening? Not seeing none. Approval of the minutes from July the 6th. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry held on July 6, 2020 be adopted as circulated. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. We have no presentation or delegations this evening, so we'll go right to new business staff reports. Review asset management plan. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Better than last time, whenever I had my screen not working. So this is the asset management plan review. I consider it a housekeeping item. Nothing really has changed in our policy from 2019. There were 3 questions that 2 of you presented, so I'll discuss them here. As per point 12, are reviewing the township's progress in implementing its asset management plan. So given our students have come on board sometime mid-June, we've actually made some progress there. Previous to that, there was not much work done. They're working on the legislative component of it. The written component, we still have some data to be compliant for 2021, but we will work and get that done. Any factors impeding township's ability to implement its asset management plan. As always, you could say resources for any plan or any design is a factor in getting it done. So that is a factor in implementing the asset management plan. And then a strategy to address these would be just a reprioritization of some of my tasks, because this is a legislative mandate come July 1st for 4 core infrastructure items. So you might see me pulling off on a few things to make sure this gets done. But in summary, it is on track. There's still a considerable amount to do. There's good time to get it done, and other perceived priorities may take a backseat, or temporary staffing may have to be procured. But at this present time, it's just a reshuffling of priorities. Otherwise, the policy is the same as it was last year, and it will be updated with the information for July 1st, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from members of council? Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this asset management plan being completed. It basically will give council guidelines as to where we sit in regards to our assets. I'm a huge proponent of putting more aside for key assets in regards, especially with the water rates. I like charging a little more and putting it away for a rainy day, if you will. We do have healthy reserves. And I think with this plan coming forward, it may be an opportunity for us to invest in some of our core assets that need it. And it could potentially help our local economy in this uncertain time. So with a measured approach, I think it'll be good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Not seeing none, I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that staff report 98-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry receive and file this report. You heard the motion, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. And we'll move to number 2, Desaulniers Site Plan Control Agreement. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this property is located at part of Lot 14, Concession 1, and the former Township of Charlottenburg, also known as 19126 County Road 2. Many of you would be familiar with this property as it's located directly across from the former Legions of Christ structure. The subject property was created by severance in 2014 and is currently vacant. The applicant proposes to construct a single detached, single-story dwelling that's approximately a little over 3,000 square feet in size. As you're aware, all properties located on the south side of County Road 2, South Service Road, less than 1 acre in size, are subject to the site plan control process. So this site plan was circulated to the United Counties and the Raisin Region Conservation Authority. The United Counties had no concern with the proposed development, and this property is accessed by a shared access. And the RCA had completed their review and also had no concerns and requires a regulation permit to be issued prior to a building permit. And in fact, that regulation permit has been issued. So if this site plan control agreement is approved this evening, the applicant will be applying for a building permit. In the agreement that's attached to the staff report, it has the typical clauses that we require in terms of the approved site plan and the $1,000 security deposit. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but is there any questions or comments from members of council? Deputy Mayor Warden.
Just a quick comment. This is a stunning piece of property. I'm looking forward to seeing it develop properly. Should be nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that staff report 99-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approves bylaw 42-2020 and the site plan control agreement for the property legally described as a part of Lot 14, Concession 1, front in the geographic Township of Charlottenburg, also known as 19126 County Road 2, and authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute the site plan control agreement. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Haley. Number 3 is the website upgrades. Ms. Roberts.
Hi, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, as mentioned in the staff report, administration is looking to upgrade the current township website to be better able to meet the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act January 1st, 2020 compliance deadline, which requires all public websites and web content posted after January 1st, 2012 to meet the WCAG 2.0 level AA compliance. Outlined within the report, you'll see that our website providers offer a form builder program, which would give the municipality the ability to bring all critical information gathering and potential payment services online. The township would be able to upgrade all current and future PDF documents to become AODA compliant, as well as be able to easily create responsive forms that integrate smoothly with the township site. One of the best forms that we would be able to create with the program would be a comment or problem or concern form where residents would be able to direct their concerns directly through the website rather than through Facebook or calling the main office. And from there, communications would be able to direct those forms directly to the responsible departments and track in accordance with Ontario's requirements. Should the option prove worthwhile, the township would also be able to later upgrade to an e-commerce extension that could allow the township to accept online payments. The estimated cost of $5,150 would come out of the corporate services IT budget. And if overages would occur, those would be identified at a future date, and administration recommends that it come out of the modernization fund. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you'd have.
Okay, thanks for your report, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your report, Megan. I think this is great. I think that we need to be accessible to all of our community members, especially with those with certain needs that our current website is not servicing. One of the items that I like on this, and I would like to see it go forward at this stage if possible, is the e-commerce. I think that we need to modernize our payments in this new world of COVID. I mean, we had to shut our office down to the public for safety reasons. I think allowing our residents a porthole on our website to go in and access their accounts with payment options, I think is a very strategic move forward. And I don't know if there's an avenue to find out what the cost is now while you're engaging this website designer. Maybe a better price if we do it all at once, but I'd like other members to have their say or whatever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Ms. Roberts, thank you very much for your staff report. On the whole, I'm really looking forward to what you're proposing. I think that this is, as Deputy Mayor Warden says, this will, help serve a portion of our population now that aren't being properly served by the website design. But I think it's really important to upgrade our complaint process. I think giving folks a much easier way to contact us and to provide pictures, etc. I think it's a really upgrade to the complaint process. I think what Deputy Mayor Ward is referring to when it comes to payment processes, I think, really that is the expectation of residents now, is that, that they're able to do online payment, that they're able to do electronic payment. So if you are able to look at that and seeing about accelerating that, I think that there would be a lot of value to that. My question to you with regards to the cost is if you could just compare the costs of what you're proposing to what are the typical annual costs that we have for running our website.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, for sure. We can definitely, we've gone through some upgrades in the past. Basically what would happen in terms of the payment is for the breakdown, it would be an initial implementation and setup cost of $3,500. And then that would be a training 3-hour WebEx kind of training thing that we could include a couple of members of staff, which would cost $450. And then really the only additional fee that would be added to our annual website cost now would be $1,200, which would be added to the existing hosting and licensing agreement.
And sorry, what is the annual hosting and licensing agreement? What's the cost to that annual? What's the base cost?
So last year, like with what we've had, last year we did a little bit of upgrading. So it'd be for the website and hosting last year was $6,949.
Thank you.
Okay, so Megan, you're saying 6,900 plus an additional 1,200, or is it 69 including that 1,200?
Sorry, with the additional 1,200 added.
We're $9,100 roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, any other questions or comments from members of council? Whoops, sorry, Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Megan. I'll just echo, I guess, a bit of what the others have said. For sure, I'd like to see complaints, be them by law, come on line in this sense, like you say, like Councillor Jaworski referred to, whether it's add a picture and then type in your complaint. I think that would make things or streamline things and take a little bit of burden off of staff. And for sure, a priority for me would be the online payment, a portal where you could either, whether it's by credit card or whether by a bank transfer, you can pay your property taxes. I think that would be a wise move, in my opinion, just as far as things go. We do have a lot of people who own property in South Glengarry, be them on the rivers or summer homes or whatever they might be, and they are forced to pay their property taxes either by a check or to come down to the township and pay with debit. But I mean, it would be nice if they could sit and do it at home, not have to travel for it. I guess just echoing what the others said.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I won't repeat everything everybody else has said. They're on the right track. Just a plug to say thank you very much that our township still answers the phone every time we call. So I think the internet is great, but don't quit answering the phone. Let's keep that personal. So if somebody calls, there's somebody there to talk to. So thanks.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I agree with my fellow colleagues in regards to most of their comments. And I think we certainly need to make sure that online payments are easy access for the general public. And so is any forms or applications that they're looking for. It's easier for the younger generation to go on, but this middle-aged group that we're in, it's sometimes difficult. Sometimes when we go on that we can't find what we're looking for. So easier the better for the general public would be great. I think Mr. McDonald had a comment, then Deputy Mayor Warden.
If I may, I hope I don't seem as a curmudgeon always against online payments. We do presently offer payment through the bank, much like your bill payee. I'm not opposed to having credit cards if that's a level of service which council wishes. If it does go to taxation, you have to keep in mind that 2.5% Visa or MasterCard cost would be 2.5% on a whole bill, and the whole bill, the counties nor the school board will accept us paying them 2.5 less. So that 2.5 can become anywhere from 5 to 6%. And if just, so it's a level of service we can provide. In North Dundas, I believe it costs about $40,000 per year in fees once they applied credit cards to their taxes. So just give you an idea of the magnitude of what you would get into. But if it's a level of service you wish to provide, we can further look into it and refine those numbers for our situation. But as you said, it is something people look for. We could always start smaller or larger, but it seems council looks to this as a method of modernizing our payment scheme, not scheme, but payment methods.
Well, I think e-transfers at this point, I think is something that's council's looking for maybe, but I'll go to Deputy Mayor Warden, then Councillor Lang.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to echo Councillor Lang's comments. I'm 100% in favor of having a live person answer the phone. I'll never back away from that. Kind of what I was alluding to on the online payments would be for sports and recreation permits. I'm not wanting our taxes. I'm not wanting you to pay your taxes with your credit card. But if you want to buy a dog license and you want to apply for a permit, That's cost of doing business, and I don't see why we should not be providing that level of service. But as for your taxes, should you choose to use a credit card, then you will be paying the service charges on that, because as you said, we need 100% of those dollars. So I think there's somewhere in between that'll work for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Yes, I would agree with what the mayor said, that maybe e-transfers, and I'm made likely we can do those now, but for the smaller things, it'd be a shame to see us lose $40,000 or $50,000 just to be able to accept credit cards. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else, Ms. Roberts, that you wanted to add?
See, Mr. Mayor, just to go back on for having someone to continue answering the phones and whatnot, it would still be possible, like say someone would like to report a problem, but does not have the means to access like through our website, they could call and through reception have that implemented onto the website. So that way we can it's just a more centered point to track where the comments and concerns are going. So that would still always be available.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much again for your report. I have a motion
Thank
moved
you.
by Lyle Warden, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that staff report 100-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approves the upgrades to the website using eSolutions Form Builder. All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Roberts. And we'll move to number 4, CIPAC recommendations to council, community improvement grants. Ms. Bingley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome and thanks for having me this evening. So we're going to chat about the community improvement plan. We did move to a continuous intake process. We held our first CPAC meeting on July 7th, where we received 2 applications, Jack's Pub and Lancaster Massage Therapy. Both have been referred to council to review. So we'll go through Jack's Pub first. They applied for a couple of different grants. First, they're looking to improve the front and the secondary facade of their building. So if you're familiar with where Jack's Pub is, they're in Williamstown and they have been established for very many years. They're looking to put James Hardy cement fiber board siding on the front of their building, along with reclaimed barn board. That would be the first grant. So that's first the front and the secondary facade, which is on the west side of the building. They're also applying for commercial signage. They're looking to put up aluminum black kind of pin mounted signage that would say Jack's Pub rather than it being on the street, actually on the front of the building with gooseneck lighting. So they're kind of going for that country type feel. And the last grant that they're applying for is landscaping along, again, the west wall. So they're looking to install a new retaining wall, wooden fence enclosure around their garbage cans, recycling bins, and grease containers, along with 4 window planters, 2 on the front and 2 on the west side. So the total project cost is $16,149. They'd be looking for 50% of that. So that's $8,071.80. Are there any questions currently just on Jack's Pub, or can I move on to the second application?
I'll get you to finish the second one. If there's questions, we could do both at the same time. Thank you.
So Lancaster Massage Therapy, they are located on the corner of Military Road and Oak Street. They previously went through our CIP program for their front facade, but now they're looking to do the secondary facade. So they have a garage that is located on 2 Oak Street that faces the main road. So with that, they're looking to tap into the building improvement grant, replace the siding, soffit, and fascia, along with replacing the garage doors. The second grant that they're looking to tap into is the landscaping grant. So they currently have a large concrete slab. They had some patio stones and some paving. So it's a bit of a liability risk and also an eyesore on the street. So they're looking to chip up that concrete slab and replace it with paved concrete. So their total project is $7,109.04. And once again, they're looking for 50%, which would be $3,554.67. So the total ask for the 2 applications to come out of the 2020 budget, which currently has an allotment of 60,000. None of these funds have been used to date this year, would be $11,626.47.
Okay, thank you very much for your report, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think, thank you, Megan, Ms. Bingley, for your report. I'm looking forward to hopefully having support around the table to get these projects underway. We all know where Jack's Pubs is, so I'm sure the facade and the improvements to that area will definitely do well. And again, here at the corner of Oak Street, it's a very well-traveled street. I'm looking forward to these projects moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. It's nice to see the local businesses taking some effort in upgrading their buildings and their parking lots. So that's great to see. There's no other comments or questions from members of council. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that staff report 101-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approves bylaw 43-2020 through to bylaw 44-2020 and enters into a CIP agreement with Jack's Pub and Lancaster Massage Therapy and authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute the CIP agreements. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Bingley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Okay, number 5 is Lancaster Heights surplus lots sale approval. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be speaking on behalf of the other Mr. MacDonald this
Right.
evening. So just to pull that up to just make sure I follow properly. So these lots have been listed for sale for a good amount of time. This particular purchase offer is similar to all the other past ones, and we're going through the same process. Part 45 on reference plan. I guess that's all in the report. I don't need to mention. Its purchase price is $22,000, which has been approved by council in 2015. I see no reason why not to accept this offer because it's similar to the ones we've accepted in the past. I believe there's been 3 in the past 3 or 4 years. One extra consideration to include following, if council accepts this one, is perhaps enlisting a real estate agent to have those lots sold and perhaps review that list, the price list after the fact, or to reflect 2020. I remember it was talked about in the budget, but we hadn't got to it. So this is the current price, and I find it acceptable based on our current knowledge. And then perhaps we move to be a little bit more aggressive on those lots because given our current circumstances, people are enjoying having a little patch of grass behind their house coming from the city. So it's an opportune market to perhaps be approach these more aggressively. But this is similar to the last 3, so there's no reason not to.
Okay, thanks for your report. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Jaworski.
Sure. Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think what Mr. McDonald makes sense in terms of perhaps we should be looking at the price list again to ensure that the prices are competitive with the market, and that maybe they need to be well, who knows, maybe they need to be increased for 2020.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I have a motion moved by, I'll have to change that. It was moved by Lyle Warden, so I'll have to. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that staff report 102-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the sale of part 45 on reference plan 14R-2974, part lot 7, concession 9 to Kelly M. Harding as per the offer received, and that bylaw 45-2020 be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 20th day of July 2020. And furthermore, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign any relevant documents. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Number 6, Township Office and Jack Danaher Community Center roof. Mr. Ladisar.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So the Jack Danaher and the township office roofing, we had put out an RFP. The RFP came back with a very favorable, for at least the township office, a very favorable amount of $58,900 to complete the township office. And I think that this would also include the stripping of the shingles and putting a tin roof on, which I'm sure most of you know, the township office has been in need of a replacement for the roof for quite some time now. So I'm proposing that we proceed through you, Mr. Mayor, with the Grant Marion proposal for that particular project.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Jaworski, then Deputy Mayor Warden, and Councillor McDonnell.
Thank you, Mr. Ladouceur, for your report. I don't actually have a comment about the township roof portion of the report, but I wanted to just make a quick question about the Jack Danaher, quick comment about the Jack Danaher building. I know that, and perhaps other members of council might want to comment on this as well. I know that that community group there is a very active community group. It takes a lot of pride in assisting the maintenance and the running of that building. So I do hope that you're in contact with them, and that you're trying to include them as much as possible in the running of that building and the decisions that are being made there.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. I've been in contact with the president on a number of occasions. I've also have reached out to not only the president through him to meet with the people who are involved with that particular community center. I think that one of the things we were trying to do was look at the allocated funds and perhaps combine both projects so that we could actually get both projects done. The issue was that the price that came in for Jack Danaher was quite high, far more than we anticipated. And I know that the community group has a certain amount of funds available, and there are some other needs in that particular facility, such as eaves troughs that is certainly eroding the infrastructure there. And so we were hoping to be able to combine both. Unfortunately, the secondary costs for Jack Danaher just came in way too high. So as per my report, I'm suggesting that we move forward strictly with the township bid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Rick, that was kind of my question. What is the plan going forward? Are you just right now, I'm in favor of approving it as presented. The roof here needs to be replaced. What are your plans for the Baynesville Community Center, as that roof is it's finished? It needs to be done as soon as possible. Just curious to know what that is.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, the community group there does have sufficient funds, and they would like a say, and they would also like an opportunity to pick their roofer of choice. So it will get done this year through the community group. As I said earlier, I just want to be clear that we were trying to maximize the dollars that were allocated. At $70,000. We thought maybe we could get both projects done. However, that wasn't the case. But the community group, as through the president, has stepped forward and said that they do have the funds, and they would like. Actually, I have a meeting with them, I believe, on Wednesday.
Subsequent, Mr. Mayor. So will there be something on our next agenda as to what the solutions are? Because I think we're getting close to the wire with that roof, and If you're going to be meeting with them, it'd be good to know what the plan is.
I will have another staff report for Jack Tanner.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ladisher, I was happy to see that the RFP for Jack Danaher Community Center was not going to go through because that's a ridiculous amount of money for a small tin roof. I'm not all sold on even the township hall. I think maybe I need a little more information as to what we're doing with the roof. Is there any structural changes to it? Because I am at the township hall right now and I'm actually upstairs, right, looking out at that roof, and I took a few minutes ahead of time to get out and take a look around on it. It kind of, there's one peak that runs north-south, which would be over the regular, as you come in the front doors, down through council chambers and out the back doors. Then there's the original brick house with a secondary piece off the back, which would be, I guess, the section I'm sitting in. And then to the back of that, where the offices are down the back hallway, is flat. So I'm wondering how we're going to put tin on the flat section, or how is that going to work? Are we only doing any of the peaks and leaving that flat valley as is? Or is there some structural change that's being done?
No, the structural specs were done by McFarland's roofing company, or consultants, I should say. And the entire building will be done through tin, which is, I think, council's desire for all of our buildings from now on. And so the complete project would be completely done from one end to the other.
Okay, so I guess, would it be possible for us to maybe see that at some point? I guess just because I'm trying to imagine how we would do it, I guess, because there's kind of a valley right by the window here. So I guess it would have to, any water or snow collection would have to be, I guess, distributed to the flat part, which I'm assuming will be raised to an angle so that it will run off. Or
I do have the quote and the quote for this particular project. I certainly can share that with everybody if you'd like, and then you can take a look at it yourselves. But certainly Grant Marion has a very reputable firm, and they've certainly have come up with, I think, a very reasonable price, and I think everybody will be very satisfied with the end result.
No, I have full confidence in Grant Marion. I just, my concern was we were looking at a $59,000-$60,000 tin job it wasn't, well, I guess there wasn't much for, I guess, laid out as far as how much was going to be spent going towards whether it was structural changes or rerouting how the water moved across the roof. That would make more sense, that there's $58,000 to $59,000 cost to it. But if it was just tin, I'd be taking some serious issue with it, as it shouldn't cost that for tin alone.
No, there's also some structural changes that we made, absolutely. But I can certainly share that with council. No problem.
Yeah, if you have a report, Mr. Ladisher, then if you can share that, that would be great. Appreciate that. Councillor Lang, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. And thanks, Mr. McDonnell, because you kind of covered most of what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to say I don't have a problem with the price if we're going to do the whole roof. I was concerned that we were just doing the asphalt part with the peaks, and we weren't going to be touching the flat part. And I know there's already some older tin in the original brick building. So if we're going to update and redo the whole roof, I think that's a step in the right direction. I'm very happy to see that as a council, we're moving forward with tin roofs. Replacing asphalt every 10 to 15 years is ridiculous at the cost that township has to pay for contractors. So I think we get this done and it won't bother us for the rest of our lifetimes. As far as the Baynesville is concerned, I'm happy to hear that you're working with the community group there. I think, we'll see what comes out of your meeting with them, but if they've raised some money and we have approximately $11,000 in the budget for these two roof jobs, maybe something can be put together where we can kind of, supply material and they can supply the contractor or whatever to do the job. I'm hopeful that we can work this out. I like to see the community groups involved, and I want to keep that aspect in our community. gives them a sense of ownership. It helps everybody to feel that, you know, they're part of that community. They say, you know, we raised money, we did this is our community center. And it gives people, you know, a good sense to be in their community and volunteering. And so I don't want to take that away from them. I want to keep them involved and keep them active that way. So that's my point there. Thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ladser.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. I think we were trying to do a lot with a certain amount of money, and the fact that they did have some reserves. As I've said, they really do need some eaves troughs to help with the erosion of the deck that they have around, and I think that will go a long way with the future of that particular building and keep it for a long time, because there will be some work that will need to be done in that building because of not having the eaves troughs, as an example, plus the roof, of course. But certainly we want to make sure that we get the most bang for our buck.
Okay, thanks very much for your report, Mr. Ladser. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that the council receive staff report 103-2020 and that tender 14-2020 to install a new roof at the township office building be awarded to Grant Mario at a cost of $58,900, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign any documents required. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And we'll move to number 7, the arena reopening. Mr. Ladser.
I believe Mr. Mills is going to start off.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council, members of the general public, media that are tuning in tonight. I wanted to start off the report that Mr. Ladser is going to give a little bit of context, a little bit of history of what we've gone through here with COVID-19 and the pandemic leading up to consideration for reopening the arena. Certainly the Shirland Recreation Center could be considered, if not the hub, one of the hubs of our community, with lots of recreation going on out of the facility, if not on site, then certainly managed and or planned out of there. Just a reminder, since March 13th, the arena has been closed. All recreation centers have been closed. The ice came out, and seasons for hockey, figure skating, recreational hockey, girls hockey, all ceased. There hasn't been any since. In addition, all recreation programs for spring and summer were subsequently canceled, which impacted over 1,000 potential registrants and youth all over our township. And on top of the challenges that posed for families and for children and youth, at March break, schools were closed and off limits, and parents were forced to scramble, in many cases extended family members and grandparents. And that's still up in the air for the fall as to what live school will look like. So it's causing certainly some stress and angst out there. Although administration and staff are encouraged by the move to stage 3, which has just happened in Ontario. There are a lot more questions than answers, perhaps, for municipalities. In fact, we're one of the first municipalities in Eastern Ontario to bring this forward about the arena and what we might do in terms of reopening. But we are certainly hopeful that recreation and facilities will get back to some form of normalcy in the very near future. So on that note, I'll have some concluding comments at the end with some updates, perhaps related to budget, and Mr. McDonald will be there to support Mr. Ladser in this report if there are any questions related to finance. But at this point, I'll turn it over to our Recreation and Facilities Director, Mr. Ladser.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Very first thing I wanted to say was that I've been in touch with all of the users for the most part, maybe all but one. And the feedback that I've received has been very positive, very understanding, They understand the situation that the township is in, and certainly want to abide by the rules, and also have concerns about, perhaps family members and passing on perhaps the COVID, the epidemic that we're currently in, and they certainly don't want that to take place. But so they're very willing to comply with whatever the township comes up with. So that was my first comment. My second comment is we have taken, and I will say South Glengarry has taken the initiative to contact all of the other 7 townships, local townships, plus the city of Cornwall about 3 weeks ago, and we're going to be meeting. We're going to be meeting again next Tuesday, and we actually have invited the Eastern Ontario Health Unit to participate in the call. I think there will be a lot more answers after next Tuesday as to some of the questions that people may have. I think also it's noteworthy to mention that I think we're very much wanting to open up the facility. We realize, as Mr. Mills said, it's the hub of our community. I think a couple of points that should be mentioned. I think keeping in mind that the arena is not really built to open up at the end of August, as it has in the past. Far more energy, if we're talking about efficiencies, a lot more energy cost that would be involved. So I sort of see this as a blessing in disguise. Perhaps we can delay the opening that would satisfy all of our clientele. And I think October is really when we get, in full swing in terms of the activities that go on within our facility. And I'm not suggesting October 1st. I'm just pointing that out. The other thing I wanted to mention was that figure skating is ahead of the class in terms of being ready to go. Hockey, not so much, but there's a good reason for that, obviously, with a team sport and having people having to dress prior to coming to the rink. For adults, that becomes very cumbersome. For children, maybe not so much. Some of the people that I've spoken to, especially in minor hockey, feel that they would want to participate, or they'd want to view or be a spectator while their children's on the ice. That's part of the whole hockey culture, if you will. And so there will be an additional cost of cleaning. I just wanted to put that on the table with staff and doing it right. We can't just let this take place with volunteers and that sort of thing. It has to be done properly, as I'm sure you all can appreciate. So I'll stop now. There's lots more I can say, but I certainly would entertain any questions or comments from council.
Okay, thanks very much for your report, Mr. Ladouceur. I'm looking forward, maybe if council agrees to it after some questions, that we defer this maybe to the next meeting once we get more information back on your Tuesday's meeting with the other municipalities. But I'll go to Councillor Jaworski first.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ladouceur, thank you very much for your report on this. So I have a few comments I'd like to make. I'd say overall as a township, we have not been as negatively impacted financially as some other municipalities. We don't have a transit system that has had dropped in users or that sort of thing. We've fared reasonably well compared to others. And while I recognize that there will definitely be increased costs to the township to open the arena under the COVID, additional restrictions, I think there's a lot, we should really give a lot of thought to the importance of that building, both from a mental health perspective and from a physical health perspective to the community. I think, we should really look hard to make it available as soon as it's reasonable. And, and also I think it's really important for the user groups who are waiting for us to have an indication on when that date might be. I know the sooner that we have a date for them, the sooner that they could start planning out their seasons. And as Mr. Ladouceur has mentioned, the skating club is ahead of the pack in terms of being ready and eager to start using the rink. And I'd like to think that, when we do put in the ice, that will help a lot of the other user groups to start planning and getting themselves organized to also be taking advantage of it. So with regards to when a date would be, although, in previous years, we put it more for the 1st of September, that was primarily for minor hockey. I think we should try and, coincide as much as we can with how with the skating club's typical start which is more mid-September. But I think, we should give Mr. Ladouceur some leeway to work directly with those user groups to, to find a date that, well, we will get users. We don't want to open it too early and not have any users in the building, but it seems that the skating club is the most organized and that mid-September makes the most sense. Another thing I would like to mention is that when we do open up our arena, and I hope that is sooner than later, I think it's really important that we'll have, folks in, Mr. Ladouceur or another senior leader be on site at the arena, because there's going to be a lot of changes to how the site is going to be run. And I think it's important to have, those kind of folks in place to be able to help the users understand, what are the new rules, and if there is any pushback, that it's not left to the coordinators or the attendants to deal with that sort of thing. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Rick, thank you very much for this report. I've had a number of emails sent from users of the arena. I would like to see it open as soon as possible. I don't want it open and sitting vacant. So along the lines what Councillor Jaworski said, when the users, the skating clubs or whatever coincides with their schedule. I see this more as a mental health issue more than anything. I think that a lot of, especially for the younger kids and maybe some seniors being cooped up with the health unit, giving you direction for guidelines. I think it'll be an avenue for our residents to maybe get out of their house and go skate a few laps, maybe have an altered schedule. I think, we got to think outside the box. I don't, particularly want the ice sitting vacant, but if there's a desire for it on an altered schedule, like I think there's ways that we can try and make it palatable to everyone. I do understand it's an extra cost, and we are in uncertain times, but I feel like this would give a number of our residents a little bit of certainty going into the fall with the daylight going away. I think it's something that we really should consider doing at the earliest time practicable and at no extra cost, maybe, other than a cost of living increase or something like that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Yeah, I'm going to agree with Councillor Jaworski and Deputy Mayor Warden. I'd like to see it open as soon as reasonably possible. I think through this whole pandemic, we've been concerned about our citizens. We've been, looking for, anything we can do to make their life easier. This is something that maybe we can kind of start to do. I would hate to be the last place to open, and so as long as we're working through the health unit and following the guidelines. I mean, if worst comes to worst, if there's a second wave or whatever in the fall, we can always change our mind at any time. So I think we want to get out there and be proactive and help our community out where they can. And if this is going to benefit quite a few people in our community, let's do it and see what we can do to kind of bring people a little bit of sense of normalcy if they can. It won't be the same as always, and we won't be able to go in the stands and watch the way we used to, but hopefully we can get the kids out and doing some things. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ladouceur, for this report. I won't go on I think everything I wanted to say has already been said by now, but I think it'd be nice to give the users of the facility a little bit of normalcy, and maybe what we've been going through over since March will maybe encourage some other people from the community get out and start to become more avid users of the arena. So long as we're following the guidelines and we're lined up with other municipalities and with what the governments and other controls have on us, I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ladouceur.
Just one comment that I think complements everything that everybody's saying. With us perhaps taking the lead on opening up, there will be a need for ice time out there. So in a way, I think there may be an opportunity here to actually sell some more ice that we would normally get if we're one of the first to open. So I see this as an opportunity as well, not only to help our own citizens, but maybe some of the surrounding minor hockey groups or figure skating groups. So yeah, I think it's a great, I'm definitely happy that all of you feel that we need to get this arena open as soon as possible. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mills.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you. So just a couple of things for consideration. Our next council meeting, August 4th, will be, the one after that is not until September 8th. So a 5-week break in between, which would be just a week before we're considering opening the arena. Normally I know I'd get direction from you, but I'm gonna just ask a couple of things here. One is, there'll be consideration on our end for the staffing required based on what the operational hours initially would be for the opening of the arena. So we'll bring something back on August 4th related to that for your consideration. You know, there will be some health and safety and sanitization, but even today, this afternoon, things changed with direction from Hockey Eastern Ontario that initially it was not having parents and or fans in the arena. Now it's and or I think 10 players on the ice for minor hockey, and now that's going to be at our discretion based on actual limits. So that can help us a little bit. So we'll come back to you with that. And just I'm not going to promote the municipality, another municipality or otherwise, but what Mr. Ladouceur is saying about demand, there is a municipality in the area that there's a private synthetic ice they have. And I know a couple of people that do sessions in there and train, and they're sold out. They can't get enough. So maybe it's an opportunity for us to get like Mr. Ladouceur said, to get ahead of the curve here. So we'll have something for you on August 4th. Last thing I will say is, you would have heard that there was probably at County Council today, there was also an announcement in the media about $7 billion in funding, federal funding that came down to the province that's going to be come out to municipalities. We're a smaller municipality. We don't know how much we're going to get. But we're certainly going to get something from the federal funding through our provincial government. And the Premier went on record today saying hopefully we're going to get an announcement in the next week or so. So that might help us too.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ladouceur. I think you know the direction that council is looking for, and if you can still bring back a report on the 4th in respect of what the other municipalities are planning to do and when they're opening their ice surfaces or the recreation centers, that would be great. Even if it's not a staff report, even if it's for information purposes only, which is fine. I do have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Stephanie Jaworski, be resolved that staff report 104-2020 be received and the council of the Township of South Glengarry directs administration to proceed with putting the ice in for the Charland Recreation Center in accordance with the health unit guidelines. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Mills. Thank you, Mr. Ladouceur. Okay, we'll move to other business. Note of a motion, long-term care homes. Councilor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for letting me bring this motion forward, and thank you very much to our clerk, Ms. McDonald, for helping draft this. Similar to what I said at our last council meeting when I brought up this idea of putting together this motion, is that I think through the pandemic, we have seen that there's a major gap in our society when it comes to caring for our vulnerable residents in long-term care homes. And we do have long-term care homes in our area. So these are our residents, these are our neighbors. And I think that we need to urge the provincial government to take the oversight of these care homes much more seriously, in fact. I mean, as I mentioned last time, we've been going through heat waves, and many long-term care homes in Ontario don't even have air conditioning. So I'm hoping that you would support this.
Fullerton, Morelli?
I hope you'll support the motion, please, here tonight. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Warden?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As the current chair of the Glenstart Lodge, I have learned quite an abundance of what goes on in the long-term healthcare sector long before, well, I shouldn't say long before the pandemic hit and everything kind of got exemplified. I would be very happy to second this motion. And I think if there is going to be a silver lining out of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, it's my opinion that the long-term healthcare sector is finally going to get the attention that it's been long needing. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for seconding that. I do have a motion on the table. Please bear with me. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Lyle Warden. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately affected the vulnerable elderly population in Canada's long-term care homes, and some of Ontario long-term care homes are among those with the highest fatality rates in the country, as the pandemic has exposed deplorable conditions in many long-term care homes across Canada. And whereas it is the mandate of the Ministry of Long-Term Care to inspect long-term care homes on an annual basis, and these inspections have continuously dropped in numbers since 2017, with only 9 completed out of 626 long-term care homes in 2019. And whereas residents have been endangered by personal moving between infection zones without adequate equipment, and now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry urges the Ontario government to provide funding to increase full-time positions in place of casual and part-time labor in long-term care homes, and request that the Ministry of Long-Term Care acts to regularly inspect all long-term care homes and sound if infection control measures are put in place at all Ontario long-term care homes, and that this resolution be forwarded to Premier Ford and the Ministry of Long-Term Care and all other Ontario municipalities for consideration. Is that satisfactory, Mrs. Jaworski?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, you heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, and there was another one added to other business, the monthly department update from the CEO, Mrs. Jaworski.
Thank you. Thank you again through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a few comments on the departmental updates. I wanted to thank the CAO and the managers for some changes that they've done to them. I see now that we're starting to see good news story sections on some of them, which I think is fantastic to highlight, you know, the good work that is out of the ordinary or should be highlighted. I also wanted to comment on for the Department of Community Services. I did find their sort of infographic with the key stats. I thought that was also a very nice touch, and that maybe that's something that might be of interest for other departments if it's not too onerous. But I thought that was a really nice snapshot look at what their department is doing. So thanks again for continuing to do those and to making some tweaks.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just because we have a meeting on on August 4th, we won't have the department updates in time for then, because the council meeting will already be set and we won't have the month done. So we'll have an update for the first meeting in September and the second meeting in September for the next 2 months, okay? Just an FYI.
Okay, thank you. Sounds good. Okay, and then we'll move to committee reports and information purposes only. Moved by Lyle Warden, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry accepts the items presented on the agenda as committee reports and for information purposes only. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And we'll go to unfinished business. Mr. McDonald is on holidays at this point in time, so I'm not sure if Tim.
I can take some of those if you'd like.
Okay, docks on township property.
So you see a summary there. The plan is to come to council with a report next meeting to update you.
Finalize everything. Thank you.
Okay.
And fire protection ponds.
The design's completed, awaiting confirmation from PACTIV for a meeting to discuss the project.
And municipal servicing from the city of Cornwall.
So we are almost there in terms of we've had to review the cost and actually Mr. McDonald working with Executive Assistant Ms. LeBrun, they developing cost estimates for the properties because that needs to be updated, and then we'll imminently setting up meetings with the property owners to review costs to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And private roads development. Showing the
as noted by Mr. McDonald in the last meeting, we're going to review the policies from other municipalities over the summer. We're also looking at a road study.
Okay, thank you. And number 5 is Williamstown Garage and Fire Hall.
The updates there, we're still working on that.
Okay,
we're also, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to jump to number 6, LED streetlights for Glen Walter.
It's the fastest report you've ever had from Mr. McDonald. Glen Walter, so the LED streetlights, we're still waiting for Cornwall Electric there. I communicated with the manager last week, and she's supposed to get back to me.
Okay, thank you. And the Glen Walter looping project.
It's a 2020 capital project, awaiting response on the grant, and the plan is to issue a tender next month.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that report. We'll move to community services, Hamlet signage policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is our intention to have the policy on the August 4th meeting for first and second reading. However, we are still waiting for the sign company that's been assisting us to finalize the design. If we don't have that information in time to draft the report, unfortunately, we'll have to delay it till the September meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. McDonald, review of water rates and the water bill design.
Water bill design is on hold until we finalize the rates, because we don't want to make a bill only have to change it shortly after. And we're still working on getting information. Last meeting, obviously, Mark had a presentation. Since then, we've identified the big water users, and the consumption data for the past 3 years has been summarized to him. And then Dylan, our director of water, had also requested some information about zero reads just to go through it, but constantly sending information back and forth. I don't know if we'll be back by August 4th. We kind of had to hit 2 first meetings of the month in a row, but we'll be on there for shortly thereafter. So that's where we're at presently.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from members of council? Any questions or comments? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry hereby appoints CEO Tim Mills as acting clerk for the remainder of the July 20th, 2020 regular meeting of council of the Township of South Glengarry. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry convene to close session at 8:10 p.m. to discuss the following items under Section 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001. A meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is labor relations or employee negotiations. this information report from Mr. Mills and a performance review by identified individual. So you heard the motion, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thanks very much to the public, anybody watching us out this evening, and to all the staff. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk to everyone on the 4th.